观众朋友们好，现在是美国东部时间3月8日，这里是华尔街网报当时第6期节目。现在我们继续为您带来的是俄乌局势的最新进展。首先来看到经济方面的突发消息，俄罗斯央行宣布9月9日之前暂停销售外汇，而随即惠誉降低了俄罗斯主权评级，表示债务违约在即，将俄罗斯主权评级从 B 进一步下调6个等级至 C， 表示债务违约已迫在眉睫。根据来自 CNN 引述俄新社的报道表示，俄罗斯银行宣布，在3月9日到9月9日，现金提取限制会限制在1万美元之内。通报指出，所有客户的外币账户或存款资金最多可以提取1万美元现金，其余的资金按照发放当天的市场汇率，全部只能提取卢布。公民可以继续在外币存款或账户中保留基金。说起经济有关的消息，再来看到的是来自《金融时报》的报道。据《金融时报》报道，中国现在作为俄罗斯最亲近的战略伙伴，双边贸易连接紧密。2月24日，俄罗斯入侵乌克兰以来，人民币波动较为有限，甚至对美元升值一度到近4年新高。文章分析认为，现在俄罗斯因为入侵乌克兰遭受了严酷的经济制裁，卢布大跌，但是人民币汇率较为稳定，让专家认为人民币可能成为地缘政治动荡下的俄罗斯避险工具。根据来自《金融时报》的分析，有几个指标显示人民币在俄罗斯受到制裁的情况下，国际地位有所上升。渣打银行的分析报告表示，人民币全球化指标现在接近历史新高。而来自《金融时报》的文章则分析表示，中国可能有更大的野心，希望摆脱由西方主导的 SWIFT 系统，这也就是为什么北京一直致力发展人民币跨境支付等。系统目前在100多个国家，一共有1200多个机构会员，实力与有11000多个会员的 SWIFT 还有明显的差距，但是比俄罗斯的类似系统已经高出很多。文章分析表示，受到国际制裁的俄罗斯恐怕必须求助于人民币跨境支付系统。文章引述专门研究国际货币关系的经济学家指出，对俄罗斯的制裁也会刺激伊朗、朝鲜和委内瑞拉减少美元持有。他表示，如果美国和盟友拿美元当武器，会给中国更多诱因从中获利。根据来自《金融时报》的分析，中国之间有很多利益关联。俄罗斯是中国主要的石油和天然气供应源，而中国从2014年开始致力于减少美元在双边贸易结算的占比。俄罗斯央行数据显示，2020年第一季，美元在俄中贸易结算占比低于50%，而卢布和人民币的总占比高达25%。俄中贸易额近年还在上升。如果看到中国海关的数据，去年中俄贸易成长超过33%，总额已将近1500亿美元。在2月的时候，两国元首又表示要让双边贸易总额上2500亿美元。金融时报介绍表示，人民币在俄罗斯的外汇储备举足轻重。俄罗斯央行1月报告显示，相当于730亿美元，占到外汇存储总额13%。专家表示，虽然活跃于国际市场的中国银行不急于伸出援手，但是中国仍然可以运用自身以人民币为基础的资金流通网络，包括与西方连接较弱的各国内银行，协助俄罗斯规避国际金融限制。整体而言，中国将谨慎评估各项风险，并且让维持与俄罗斯的关系还有避免自己遭西方制裁之间获得平衡。
In terms of real impact, it's quite a lot because oil is not a local commodity. It is priced globally. So when you make a change in supply and demand dynamics, and when particularly you make a statement that the United States is supporting banning Russian fossil fuel sales, that has an enormous impact on the global oil markets. And if they have an impact on the global oil markets, they're going to have an impact on gas prices here at home. So it may not be a large amount physically, but from a practical point of view, it makes a huge difference in terms of prices. Let's say that we get to another place somewhere around where we were in 2008. We break highs of around $150 a barrel. That's a bit of a stretch, but let's say we go above that to $175 a barrel, which is about as wild a number as I can imagine, no matter what happens in Russia. So you can add another $2 and get to somewhere around, I don't know, where would you be? $6.50 a gallon. That to me is about the outside limit. All of us talk about, $10 gas, which, by the way, is what Europe generally deals with anyway. I don't think is coming to this country. Nothing near that. At this point, to target Russian oil and gas is an enormous ask from European governments. So they obviously have a larger stake in this, both politically and from a security point of view, as well as from an energy point of view. So it's absolutely monumental that the Americans, that Biden would have gotten some support in this, even from Great Britain, but getting it from any European state at this point, it's quite remarkable. The ability of American producers to come in and add more and take advantage profitably of what's going on in the market is not really there. And even for OPEC and Saudi Arabia, who may have another million or two barrels that they could possibly put into the mix, they've waited quite a long time for a market where they could get back some of the money they've lost over the past 5 or 6 years. And I'm not saying that they won't add some supply here. I think that the Biden administration is going to very much want them to, and ask them as an ally to help them and do it. But I think that their initial thoughts would be, we really need to bank on some profits while we can get them, because we haven't seen any for quite a long time.
Is the White House prepared for the oil price to go as high as $200 a barrel or something really, really high like that? And if so, what preparations are you making to help the American economy against that kind of a hit?
We're neither going to make a prediction nor are we going to tell Americans to stay home. What the president is focused on is taking a range of steps to mitigate the impact. Obviously, we've seen, as I noted a little bit earlier, an increase since President Putin invaded Ukraine of about 75 cents. That is, over the course of the timeline, we've seen that in relation to, concern in the global oil markets about what they're seeing, which is an invasion. But we believe that the impact of this oil ban we announced today will be not long term. And what we're working to do is to take steps to mitigate it, which is in part the release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, continuing to coordinate and communicate with global energy suppliers, and continuing to consider a range of options. So there are a range that we are considering. I'm not going to give you a nod or a wink to any specifics other than to say that there are a range of options on the table. As you all know, we are engaging in ongoing conversations with large global energy suppliers as a part of it. Part of that effort has also been to do this coordinated release of what will be 90 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, this fiscal year, including the initial announcement and then the one we just made last week, I believe it was. So those conversations are ongoing. I would also note that part of our the capacity out here is with the oil companies who have these approved permits that are unused, where they could do more. Now, some CEOs have indicated that they do plan to increase production, and that's something that, to meet the supply needs we have now, we certainly would welcome. The steps we've seen in Texas and Florida are deeply concerning and are discriminating against exactly the kind of kids who we need to be loving and supporting. And we've seen, and I reference Florida because, as you know, they just recently passed a similar hateful bill that hurt some of the students most in need. In terms of any legal actions, I'd obviously point you to the Department of Justice, but I would just note that the President, the Secretary of Education, many members of the administration have spoken out about the discriminatory nature of these bills and our deep concerns about the message they're sending to LGBTQ kids and families.
пане спікер, пане прем'єр-міністре, члени уряду, парламенту, лорди, леді та джентльмени. Я звертаюся до усіх людей Сполученого Королівства, до усіх людей Великої Британії, великого народу з великою історією. Я звертаюся до вас як громадянин, як президент, але теж великої країни. З великою мрією і великою боротьбою. Я хочу розказати вам про наші 13 днів. 13 днів війни, міцної війни, яку ми не розпочинали і не хотіли, але ведемо. Тому що не хочемо втратити те, що в нас є, те, що наше. Україну, так само, як ви не хотіли втратити свій острів, коли нацисти готувалися розпочати битву за вашу велику державу, битву за Британію.